Welcome to Move Church. Thanks for joining us for this week's message. We pray this message will both move and inspire you to make a decision into an authentic relationship with Jesus Christ. This relationship is where you obtain freedom and will help value your purpose and give you the power to engage your world. Now to the message.
All right. What's up, Move Church? Come on, can we make some noise? Yes. Come on, let's give him praise right now. Come on, let's give him praise. It feels good to be in his house this morning. Hey, we don't do this often, and I think it's important that we do it this morning. Can we give our worship team some praise? Didn't they do a phenomenal job this morning? They do that every week, but we just have to honor that. Come on, let's give them praise one more time. Yes, your boy has his suit on. It's about to get serious. Yes, we are about to have conversation this morning that I believe is going to move us from one place into the next. I hope that your hearts are prepared for this because I've prepared to give you this truth. Are you ready? Come on, are you ready? Yes. Hey, what's the message in our world today? Like, what are you hearing within our culture? Hey, you know what? They hurt you. You don't need them. Listen, you're no longer in a position to where you want to allow these things that have just affected you in a negative way to be a part of your life. Let it go. Don't let them see you weak. Don't show your emotions, Dre. Hide that inside. You don't want them to see that. Just show them the superficial things. Don't give way to others who've hurt you and done wrong to you. Shun them. Leave them. Show them that you're strong and you're better without them. Has anybody in here ever been in conflict? Just relationally, you just had issues within your life. I think if you've been living, all of us can attest to that. Then we've had issues in our life where we've just been in conflict with one another. Like maybe someone has just done something to you that really just offended you and just hurt you and put you in this position of where you're just angry. Can I go there this morning? Like maybe you were abused as a child, and that's no fault of your own. Like maybe a parent walked out of your life. Like maybe your marriage crumbled, and you hold the other person responsible in that relationship. Like maybe you're just upset because maybe what a friend did to you, what they said to you, it was unimaginable. Or maybe there was a situation at work where you didn't get the promotion and you worked hard for it. You knew you deserved it, but you didn't get selected. And as a result of that, you're angry and you're frustrated. And that frustration has turned into bitterness. And that bitterness has led you to a place where you're not able to do something. And this morning, what we're going to talk about is necessary for us to be able to have a relationship that provides peace and clarity and wisdom. We need to implement this thing into our lives over and over and over again. Do you have forgiveness? Like, do you have forgiveness? I don't know about you, but this is particularly important that we have this conversation about this powerful tool that we need to implement into our lives and that we need to access again and again and again and again and over because so many things will happen in our lives from the day to day that will require us to forgive. But if I'm honest with you, it's not easy to forgive abuse. It's not easy to forgive when someone walked out on you in life. It's not easy to forgive someone saying something to you that hurt you. It's not easy to forgive when you have pain that's been there for years because of the offense and the things that you've received. And it particularly hurts when you have no responsibility in the matter. Like you didn't do anything to deserve this pain and this feeling, but it's there. there. And it happened. How are you going to be able to deal with that? There's something we're going to unlock today that is necessary that I don't think we've all probably applied this correctly. I know I haven't. That will help us have a better relationship with God. Because I believe in this moment, in the world, this is needed right now more than ever to bring about the connectedness that we don't have, to correct the division and the divide and the hatred and the anger that is spreading worse than COVID. Like these things are going to provide more harm for us than any disease ever will. Because you were called for great purpose. You were called for great things. You have amazing things to be able to accomplish. But if you cannot forgive, it will not happen. And that's not easy to accept, as I said before, when something happened to you that was unjust. But can I introduce you to this idea of forgiveness? Ephesians 4 says this, instead, be kind to each other, tender-hearted, forgiving one another, just as God through Christ, forgave you. Like the truth is, you and I are not good people. Like I know that doesn't sound good this morning, but the truth is that you and I are forgiven. Like we are forgiven individuals. We've received grace that by which we never deserved. Like your Father in heaven, the guy who we're worshiping this morning, the person that we fall on our knees for, did one thing that most of us may never do. And it's so important and it's so powerful that we're able to do this, because without this forgiveness, there's no access to his kingdom. So you need to be able to implement this even when you don't think they deserve it. In fact, even when you know that they don't deserve it. But this is what makes you and I different to a world that's full of darkness. Like we can't be different if we're going to take on the same methods of those who don't know God. So will you take on this approach and apply forgiveness? Check out what it says in Colossians. Make allowance of each other's faults. These aren't my words, these are his. Make allowance of each other's faults and forgive anyone who offends you. Woo. Anybody just been offended lately? Like, yo, I was offended when they stepped on my sneakers. Like they left a scuff on my brand new kicks and my baby knows I love my sneakers. Yo, they messed up my meal at Chick-fil-A like several times in the past couple of weeks. I did not get my large fry. Like that's all I wanted, and it didn't happen, so I was offended. Man, they called me outside of my name. They said something that I didn't like, and so I carried that offense. I was just hurt by it. I don't know what your offense is or what it is, but God is saying right here in Colossians, he forgave you. So we need to forgive others. Do you have forgiveness? Listen, I'm hoping that today we can uncover the power and the significance of forgiveness and why it's important. How do we use it? And when do we use it? There isn't a person amongst you that has not experienced any pain. Like, and even if you haven't experienced it, wait a little while, it'll happen. Like there will be hurt. There will be discontent. There will be frustration. There will be things that happen to you that make you angry, and they will be justified. Like your anger will be validated in the acts of others. But this one thing incorporated and applied over and over again will provide you to experience something that most don't have. Will you be able to forgive as God forgave you? Because this is the ultimate responsibility that is placed on you and I as believers to be able to forgive. But you've got to go deep to forgive. Because it's not easy when we've been offended. Why? Because by nature, we are selfish. Like we do things for ourselves by nature. So we've got to shift our mind and our focus to understand this concept and how powerful it is to be able to forgive. because it's not normal or natural to forgive those who have done something wrong to us. I think it's so beautiful that the Lord says, vengeance is mine. Because he knows if we use this tactic of revenge, what we've done so long and for so many ways, it will only lead to a self-fulfilling prophecy. Like only you and I are ever going to benefit temporarily from a little bit of revenge. Like it feels good in the moment to know that you got that person back for what they did to you. I'm just being honest. I got brothers and sisters. I'm just being honest. Like when you get that revenge, it feels good. But how many know that that temporary pleasure that you're experiencing has done nothing but permeated the relationship between you and that other person, because now their mindset is going to be of equal value. They're going to do the same thing right back to you, and they're going to share that same concept with everyone else who does wrong to them. And are we spreading forgiveness in a relationship with God when we use and apply this method of just tit for tat, finger pointing in every direction? I think enough of our world has plenty of individuals pointing at others for things that were done wrong. And they're right about it, but they haven't applied this that makes us different, which is forgiveness. Listen, forgiveness, what I found out, isn't just for you, and that's why it hurts. Like forgiveness is for the other person. And it's so that they can understand a forgiving God that had grace over you and I, who are both sinners, and gave us another opportunity. Any parents in the house? Like I'm a parent, I'll tell you my situation. I got 2 babies. One's 8 and one's 5. Giovanni and Eiley. And all the time I give instructions and ask them to do things. What do you know? It doesn't get done all the time. Like in most cases, I told them to do something, and they've come back and done the opposite. I'm like, yo, what? How did this happen? And they'll sit there and look at me, Dad, I'm sorry. And sometimes there's manipulation in it, but guess what I do? As a loving parent, I go to eBay and find out how quickly God can sell them. I'm just joking. I forgive them. Like I look them in the eyes, and I give them forgiveness almost instantly, without even thinking about it, because these are my babies. These who I'm responsible for. If I don't demonstrate to them forgiveness, how will I ever expect for them to be able to do the same thing? Like if they're going to stand apart and to do something different within this world and to shine a light, they must know the power of forgiveness. Because if they don't understand this early and often, they won't apply this tactic, and they can't have a relationship to God without being able to forgive. Why? Because he first forgave you and I. Like we nailed him to a cross. And I don't think you get that picture in your mind, but we nailed him to a cross and put a crown on his head. Here's a Savior coming into the world to save you and I. And in his dying breath, he says, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. And I'm wondering, do you understand the power and the significance of forgiving someone who's persecuting you? Like who's literally making it their business to come after you. And you're thinking that the forgiveness is going to be for you, but it's for them so that they can receive that grace. And you're praying for a powerful intervention from God to change their heart, because the only way to change the world is to change the hearts. We consume ourselves with changing the character, but you can't change character until you change someone's nature. Your nature has to change first. The only way to change nature is to relate to God. He is the only being capable of doing that. And so we must understand the power of being able to forgive. Do you have forgiveness? Do you have forgiveness? Listen, I'm trying to give you riches, freedom, and all the things that you enjoy in 40 minutes for free. Like, stay with me. This is good. What I realized as I was thinking about this forgiveness is that we've got to understand the importance of attaching this concept, which is, what does love require? Woo! Yo, that's good. Like, what does love require? Because once we understand what love requires, then we might know a little bit of why forgiveness is important. Like somebody said something to you that was rude. They did. They were wrong for that. They had a bad attitude. I'm not going to trip. You're right. They were wrong for that. Someone went further and left you alone in life. They're wrong for that. We understand that component, but will you be able to come to a place where you can rest that at the feet of Christ so that your spirit will be light and you'll have the energy to continue to love? Because how many know that when you have anger and frustration built over failures from other people and how they've enacted in your life, you carry that baggage. And it's hard for you to extend love because you're now projecting your past experiences onto everything that's in front of you, so you can't be completely in the moment or completely loved because you've been hurt. Because you've been hurt. But will you forgive? But anyone who does not love does not know God. What does love require? In order for us to forgive, what does love require? Anyone who does not love does not know God. For God is love. God showed how much he loved us by sending his one and only Son into the world so that we, you and I, might have eternal life through him. Listen, this is real love. Not that we love God, but he first loved us. Like, that's powerful. Because we didn't deserve it. He knew that we were sinners, but I'm going to forgive them, cover them with the blood, and give them another opportunity at this thing called life. How many need grace over and over again for mistakes that you've made in your life consistently? Like, I need that grace. Like, I need that grace. If he didn't forgive me, I could never, ever do what it is he's called me to do because I wasn't worthy. And so neither is the person who's just offended you. I know it hurts. And I can't speak to your individual pain and all the components and the details of your past life, but I know it's justified to have this feeling of anger and frustration for those who have wronged you. But it's a greater opportunity for you to praise God in the situation and say, Lord, will you forgive them? Like, will you provide them forgiveness so that my heart will rest in peace and I can continue to live a full life? Do you have forgiveness? Dear friends, let us continue to love one another, for love comes from God. Anyone who loves is a child of God and knows God. Regardless of what we turn out to be in life, we started as a creation from him, and you're making choices every single day, right or wrong. And he knows this, and he's willing to forgive you and give you opportunities to make mistakes. But he's saying, I need you, Dre, to pass this along. Like, this one component will make this situation so much sweeter if you can apply this, because I know you've been hurt. But what I was sacrificed for is a greater deal. You've got to share this, because if you don't, we can't do the mission, which is to share the love of God throughout the world. And if most of us are honest, this one thing will be the thing that we don't do. And we justify in so many different ways as to why they don't deserve forgiveness. And as I said before, you're right, they don't deserve it. But he does. And he wants you to have this relationship of peace. And you can't have this peace as you're carrying all of these offenses and burdens from past behaviors that were done to you. Will you forgive? Proverbs 7 says this, say to wisdom that you're my sister, and to understanding that you're my closest to kin. It's not always easy to have wisdom and understanding implemented into particular components and areas of your life as you're dealing with pain and frustration. It's just not easy. Like, when someone does something wrong to you, like I said before, you want to quickly defend yourself. Like, quickly put yourself in a position so that you don't have to take on any more of that. But God is saying, yo, if you do this first, this will work out for you. And all of us probably even today had things that were done to us that probably require some forgiveness. Maybe on your way to church, there was a conversation or some events that took place, and forgiveness was probably needed, but maybe you were unwilling to give it because you didn't think it was deserved. Or that they've continued to take advantage of your forgiveness. They might have, but I'm imploring you to do this so that your soul will have peace. and your relationship with God will be true, because he says you can't get into the kingdom of heaven without being able to forgive, Dre. So if you don't forgive, guess what? I don't have access for you. You're not going to get this particular code that gives you access to all of me and to enter my kingdom. You may have done 100 things in church. You may have done wonderful things throughout your community, but you didn't forgive as often as you should have, because I forgave you first, giving you an example of why you need to use this and apply this in your life. Will you forgive? I assure you, in Matthew it says, and almost solemnly say to you, unless you repent, which means to change your inner self and your old way of thinking and live changed lives and become like children, trusting, humble, and forgiving, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven. God, why you make me do this? Like, why do you make this so hard? You know I can't forgive for what they did. He called me names. They disrespected me. They didn't show me the value that I deserved. And it hurts. And that pain that's sitting in me right now is difficult for me to let go and release, because I'm angry. I'm angry, God. And he's saying, I know you are. And I know it's not justified. But here's your chance to have an opportunity to live with the peace that I'm going to give you. You have to do this, Dre. You've got to forgive. Will you forgive? These aren't my commandments, these are his. Like, I have nothing to do with this. I'm just as upset as you about having to forgive someone who I know has done something wrong. It's difficult. It's in our nature, as I said before, to just be like, what? I can't do that. This is what they did to me when I was a child. These are unimaginable things. Sin has always been in the world. But there have been very few who have been willing to stand in truth and to give testimony to the power of God, knowing that this forgiveness being applied often or later can be the key to unlocking true peace in your life. And what you've got to understand is that problems will never cease when you take them into your own hands. Like, it's not godly, the method that we usually use just to get peace for ourselves. And so what spreads and permeates throughout the world is this idea of I've got to do everything I can so that I can exonerate myself because I need to be comforted. Like when I'm sitting on my house and I'm comfortable, I'm on my couch with my kids around, I'm just sitting comfortable, and someone comes around and starts messing up the position that I'm in, I get all upset. I'm angry. Y'all are tripping right now. Y'all need to go somewhere else because Dad's enjoying his peaceful moments. But I've got to be willing to allow them to come in sometimes and not do things the way that I like and still have a forgiving heart in those situations, because the behavior and the attitude and the culture that I create in my household is one where peace resides. Because I'll make mistakes. My children will make mistakes. My friends will make mistakes. My family will make mistakes. But will I forgive them, or will I allow that anger, which turns into resentment, which turns into bitterness, lead to destruction? I need to forgive. I need to forgive. Listen, there will be situations where you'll miss entire seasons of your life because of the acts of other people. That's going to make your soul even harder to crack. That's going to make this forgiveness thing much more impossible than you thought it was initially. Because they did this, they must pay. Vengeance is mine, says the Lord. Because you and I are not going to use revenge in the right way. We're going to use it for our sake. We've got to get this. You've got to get this. Listen, let me reintroduce you to this idea of humility. Like, humility is something I always hear organizations, individuals, corporations, institutions, people use and love this word. It just sounds great. It's amazing. And the idea of it being implemented into a scenario is beautiful. But the actual act of it actually happening is another thing. Humility, nothing more than not me, but you. Like, it's difficult to be able to apply this because our world does not send us these messages. It says all about you and not them. But that's conflictual. That doesn't make sense. What path am I going to go down? I have to go down this path of humility if I'm going to see Christ move. Like if I want a movement in my life of God, I've got to recognize humility. Even when I think that this situation needs to be handled this way, I've got to give it to God with humility and understand that I will need to apply forgiveness even if I don't want to, so I can receive the same thing. Do you have forgiveness? I want to give you guys an example of what this looks like, in real life. Like I said, early in life, when you're children and you're at the mercy of the adults and the people who take responsibility, you can't be responsible for what happens to you. But nonetheless, you're dealing with things that are happening to you. And sometimes these situations leave you longing and chasing things that you may never have because of the acts of other people. Anybody just live sometimes in their offense? Maybe it doesn't have to do with the past, but when things are done to you, like you're cut off in traffic, you just can't think of forgiving that person. Someone says something to you rude at work, you just can't think of forgiving that person. It's not possible. They don't deserve that forgiveness. I'm not going to give that to them. It can't happen. And so we use our offense and our anger, and we live in it. Like daily, we use it as an excuse to have an attitude and to be upset and to walk into situations and to tell somebody they have no idea what I've been through. Well, you're right, but God does, and he died for you. So will you forgive them, for they know not what they do? Will you forgive them? I don't know what your issue is, but these are bricks and they're heavy. These are heavy. And they have weight to them. I don't know, maybe like I said before, you were abused sexually, physically, when you were a child. And it's not right. It's not right at all. Never condoning it or saying it's okay, but it happened. And as a result of that, you're holding on to this and it's weight. It's a brick. Maybe you're upset because of the way some of the relationships within your family have turned out. Maybe your siblings and you have constant battles and you're angry and you have bitterness because of things that have happened. You're angry about it. Maybe you're upset because of the relationship between you and your wife. Maybe she left you, maybe you left her, and there's bitterness there. There's anger, there's frustration. Maybe you didn't get that promotion that you wanted in life. Maybe someone just happened to say something that was completely disrespectful to you. Nonetheless, it got a brick. It was heavy. It was put into these buckets. And in situations in life, when you don't know what to do or to release the weight that comes with being offended and angry and upset, you add it into the bucket. And guess where that bucket goes? Offense after offense, moment after moment, situation after situation of you just having anger and frustration, which is justifiable. Make no mistake, that's key. You're now carrying around these heavy buckets of resentment and anger and frustration. And yeah, these things, listen, you didn't deserve this. You shouldn't have had this happen to you. But as you can see, I'm struggling. I've only been here for seconds carrying these heavy buckets that have all of my offenses and frustrations from past behaviors, from current situations, maybe from things I'm going to experience. But because I don't have a heart that's willing to forgive, I've decided to carry this heavy load into life. And I wasn't designed or meant to walk this way, so my muscles will give way at some point. My hands will get tired because they weren't designed to carry all of this weight. But you and I are choosing to hold this because we're angry. And we're justified in thinking this way, so we won't let it go. And I can't lift my hands up to the Lord because of what? Because I've got all of this weight from past offenses. I can't get my hands up and praise God. I can't give you a hug. I can't completely be present in this moment because I've got to tend to all of my weight from past offenses. I don't know if this applies to you, but this is a dangerous position to be in. You don't want to carry all of this weight because he died for you and for me. Like he came to give you the freedom that we didn't deserve because he said, you are my child and I love you. Like, let this weight go. Don't hold on to it forever because all it's doing is taking away your ability to live a free life. And you won't have that freedom as long as you're choosing to carry these heavy burdens and buckets of despair and frustration and anger and past wrongs and present wrongs. God says, let it go. Like, put it down and begin to experience. Well, how do I put it down? You need to forgive. To be able to put this down, you have to forgive. I want to break some fallacies about the myths of forgiveness. The first is this, and I used to think this way. Forgiving someone is not condoning them for what they've done to you. Like forgiving someone is not saying it was okay for you to hurt me. It wasn't okay for you to abuse me or to talk to me that way, but I'm forgiving you because I know that my God will require this of me. Like if I don't forgive you, I won't make it to his kingdom. As difficult for me to do that, I've got to understand the power of forgiveness. I don't want to carry these bricks of weight around forever. I don't want to ruin my mind in a situation where I'm just built off of anger and bitterness because there is no love in that situation, and God cannot be present if I'm going to allow these events to have control of me. I'm not sure if there's anybody in here that believes that they have a purpose, but you do. Like you have a purpose irregardless of what took place in your past, and you're making a decision to allow the devil to have a foothold when you continue to waddle in the frustration and the anger because of past events that have taken place in your life. And God is saying, you know what? I want to bring victory into this life. Like I want to use what they went through as an opportunity to show how you can defeat the devil and to turn away from the darkness and to have light, but you must be willing to forgive. You've got to be willing to forgive. Like, will you forgive for the things that were done to you so that you can have peace? It's difficult to walk into a room with joy if your mind is constantly thinking about all the things that have been done. Like I had a job before in the past where I took so much pride in doing my work well, and I never felt I got the return. And even in some situations, I was mistreated. And I had every right to be angry and to be upset with people who I worked around and supervisors. And I made a mistake of holding on to that bitterness and that anger and the resentment, and all it did was destroy my character. Like I couldn't put myself fully into engagement with other people because I was too mad about the things that had happened to me. And I was right to be angry, but making the choice to hold on to it and not forgive destroyed me. And my character did not reflect the beautiful Jesus that we love. He said, I forgave you. You have to extend this grace to others. And if you don't have the power to do it, rest it at my feet, and I will. And as a result of you resting it at my feet, you will receive something that will unlock the peace to be all that you have been designed to be. Because you've been designed for something beautiful, but because of your offenses, you won't let go. I can remember my wife and I were in the airport and somebody had bumped across me and I dropped my bags and things spilled out and I was offended. I was mad. Like I was upset. And I was justified in being angry, right? Because they bumped across me. They had no business doing that, but it was an accident. And as a result, all my things fell out everywhere. Don't you know I spent the entire day talking about that? How much time did I waste talking about it? My wife said, babe, had you put this energy and effort into something beautiful, you might have accomplished great things, but you're using all of it for the negative reasons and you haven't gotten anywhere from it. Like, I don't know if there's anybody who's been in that space, but we can go on for years, decades, holding on to offenses. Families have been divided because of an unwillingness to forgive, and the offense was minor in some cases. But God's saying, even if it was horrible, there's still forgiveness because I forgave you. You need to extend the same forgiveness because without it, you cannot enter my kingdom. Like you can't enter my kingdom. I don't want you to think that it's okay for what happened to you. In fact, wisdom and understanding, as we spoke about earlier, allows for you to be able to express and to say, you hurt me. Like you hurt me, there's pain left in my heart for that. Acknowledge it, because not acknowledging it would be a lie. But then knowing where you need to go in order to allow it to leave your heart is significant. Listen, you can stand to your feet as we close out this morning. And as the musicians prepare to come and lead us into worship, I mean, there's a couple of important concepts as we close that I want to share with you. Like, when do we forgive? It's simple. Like in situations where somebody scuffs up your shoes or runs across you and you drop your things, maybe they call you a rude name. Maybe you're in the driveway to get something from a food place, you don't get the right things. Maybe someone just says something disrespectful. Like, you can choose to forgive immediately. Like learning to let go in that moment is necessary, because when you let go immediately, now you can continue living, and you've subtracted the bricks that could have potentially been inside of your bucket that would have weighed your trip down. Like you just took one of those things out. You didn't allow it to hold you back, and so you said, you know what, I'm going to forgive them in that situation immediately, because if I hold on to this forever, I'm going to be destroyed. The second one is this. Maybe you've experienced all sorts of hardships and issues throughout a compacted time in your life. And there's just been so many days of just unfortunate situations and anger and frustration. And as a result of that frustration, now you're in a place where you don't think that you can forgive because it's gone on for too long. Like I can't forgive my spouse for what he's been doing forever. Or I can't forgive my spouse for what she's been doing forever. There's no way for me to be able to forgive. It's not possible. But God is saying, come to him for understanding and wisdom so that you can have the power to be able to forgive. Like this is so important that we understand the importance of being able to forgive. It's so important that we recognize why we should forgive. Because these things are literally going to provide us with the freedom to move into a space of a relationship with God. Listen, I don't know your particular situation this morning. I have a family who dealt with division, and I love them so much. And I've seen what division can do because of an unwillingness to forgive and just to say, you know what, I made a mistake. I was wrong. Sometimes this phrase might be the most powerful phrase spoken in order to build something beautiful, is I made a mistake. And maybe you won't get that. Maybe it'll be you that'll just have to pray for forgiveness, but I've seen the destruction that awaits you if you don't have a heart that's willing to forgive, because without this forgiveness, he will suffocate everything that you have around you. When we make a commitment to what the devil has for us, it's good initially, because the temptations of this world will satisfy you. The big house, the fast cars, the fancy clothes, the wonderful trips, the beautiful people, it will satisfy you. But in small print at the bottom of your signature, it says, for life, I have your soul. And only temporarily are you going to be able to enjoy these things, because you will be empty shortly after your signature. You will be empty. But because we crave instant satisfaction, and because we crave an instant glorification of, I'm not going to let you see me weak. You're not good for me. Not recognizing the grace that was poured out for you and I is the same grace that needs to be poured out for the person that offended you and hurt you. Listen, as believers, if we don't get this, like if we don't apply this truth, like if we don't get this, nothing will change. I know we live in a democracy in which we have to go and vote, but the God that we serve reigns in a kingdom that has dominion over all. That's why he says, I don't judge by your standards. You don't know the ways in which I view these things, because it is above your understanding. But if you come and you have this mind shift and this understanding of the power of some of these significant things, one of them being forgiveness, then you will begin to have this relationship that heals things. But if we don't get this as believers, the body of Christ, we can never expect for the world to embrace this and to see change in our world. And as we prepare ourselves to get ready to select individuals into office, the biggest preparation is the prayer to our Father in heaven. Because his dominion reigns over it all. His dominion reigns over it all. We have no power that has not been given to us from above. I love when he says that, because he's not afraid of what's getting ready to happen, because he knows what he came for. But I need you to be able to forgive, Andre, and to share this forgiveness with others, because if they understand this, we can change this world. It says in the Bible that if my people, will hear me, and they will humble their hearts, forgiving each other and beginning to pray, then God says, I will hear them in heaven, and I will heal their land. Like he's not going to hear you until you understand the importance of forgiving your brother and sister for offenses. Your prayers aren't falling but on deaf ears because you're unwilling to forgive. And I'm imploring you this morning to have forgiveness in your heart so that we can equally take advantage of this peace that he has for us. I don't know the particular situation that you're dealing with, but I'm hoping that this conversation will lead you to a place until you're willing to go to someone and to attempt to have a conversation. And maybe they're not at the place where they're willing to have the conversation, and maybe they were the one that did the wrong, but you can begin to have the conversation with your Father in heaven on your knees daily for a change in the heart that you know you have no power to change. Because if we don't understand that this is true and we take advantage of the opportunity to be in his presence, then what are we here for? Like, why are we here if we don't think that our God can change things? So I know you've been abused, but he can change that. Like, I know you experienced something you should not have, but he can use that. Won't you recognize the power in the God that you serve and pray bold prayers for him to reign over your family, to break generational curses, to use you for great things, but you must forgive. I'm imploring you this morning to use this power to unlock his grace and to share it with others, because without it, we are nothing. Come on, let's get ready to go into praise right now. Maybe you need prayer, and our prayer partners will be up at the front of the stage to give you an opportunity to pray about situations in your life that need healing, like that need forgiveness. This moment can be that for you. Like, it's never too late to begin to pray, to heal, and to mend relationships and to see something change. I'm in a situation in my life where I want to see change in my family, with the people that I grew up with and loved, that are great people, but they've made some mistakes just like I have. And so we need forgiveness, or else this division that has run rampant will be worse than COVID. Because the true disease that we need to spread is forgiveness in the world. And when this becomes infectious and contagious, now we can experience his grace.